Yeah, just a quick review of the book KhanSquash Tips, tips on how to excel in the game of squash. And that pretty much sums it up. Briefly, just want to go over a few points. Basically, this is just a bunch of tips from a longtime squash player and coach. So played a lot, coached a lot. The squash tips, basically, this is just an accumulation of this author's experience as a competitive squash player. So how much experience does this guy have? Well, a lot. Over 30 plus years of experience competing in squash. Okay, so that says a lot right there. But when he played, he was ranked really high. Like he was number one in the juniors when he started playing. Four-time All-American collegiate player, 7 years on the professional tour, and a college coach for over 17 years. So in a nutshell, this is a book written by a guy who's been there, done that, and knows what he's talking about, and he's been very successful at it. So yeah, all in all, if you're looking for a book, looking for a few pointers from an expert, I think this is your book. Not too many squash books out there, so why not read one by a definitely expert? The only other thing I can add to this, if you do have a shoulder problem that's keeping you from playing squash or that interferes with it, one other resource for squash players I can recommend is Bulletproof Your Shoulder by Jim Johnson PT. Book's been out a while, still getting great reviews on Amazon. Basically, it's an evidence-based book. It doesn't ask you to do anything that hasn't been proven to work. A couple quick points: creating a highly stable joint. Doing a lot of squash playing is really hard on your rotator cuff. Your shoulder is a shallow ball and socket joint, and it's held together mainly by your rotator cuff. So if you've had rotator cuff tears, this is a good program to rehab your rotator cuff tear. If you want to avoid a shoulder problem or get a lot of joint stability in your shoulder, it has a whole chapter on that. Just a couple exercises, targeted ones that work. Get that rotator cuff in optimal shape. Building a solid base. Your shoulder sits on a base called your scapula, which is your shoulder blade. So if you don't have a solid base, you're going to start having shoulder problems like impingement. Important, especially with racket sports, especially if you're raising your arm over your head above shoulder level. So it has a lot of scapular strengthening involved there. That's an overlooked part, I think, of a lot of shoulder rehab programs. Developing optimal flexibility. If you have any tightnesses in your shoulder, even a section on proprioception in your position sense, your neuromuscular coordination. On that. So it's a very complete program. It only takes about 10 minutes or less a day to do this program. Some days even less. Very evidence-based, proven to work. So if you have a problem with your shoulder, or you just want to avoid it, or you've had a rotator cuff tear, this is a tremendous resource. But yeah, if you're looking to play squash and get better at it, this is no better book. So definitely check it out.